This is Living Healthy with Your Health Potential, where we explore your options for better health. Brought to you in association with The Woman in You.
Hi, welcome to Living Healthy. I'm your host, Sheryl Worthington-Turgeon. Today, we repeatedly use medicines like antibiotics and antihistamines for colds, the flu, and other ailments when there are safe and effective natural alternatives available. In this episode of Living Healthy, we talked with registered nurse Burke Lennihan, author of Your Natural Medicine Cabinet, about practical, low-cost homeopathic remedies you can purchase locally and use safely as an alternative to expensive and often harmful pharmaceutical drugs. A Harvard alumna and health expert on Dr. Oz's sharecare.com, Burke Lennihan has over 30 years' experience in natural healing. She blogs for Psychology Today and practices at the Lydian Center for Innovative Healthcare in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We talked with Burke at the Marion Institute's Connecting for Change event in New Bedford, Massachusetts, about how you can stock your own holistic medicine cabinet. Hi, Burke. Welcome to Living Healthy. We're so happy to have you on our show today.
Thanks, Sheryl.
And I think we might as well just jump right in with what you think should be in everyone's home medicine cabinet.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my favorite thing. So the number one thing is called Arnica. And Arnica is a homeopathic remedy, which I like to think of as a fast-acting natural medicine. And it's good for bumps and bruises. It's good for sports injuries, pulled muscles, other kinds of bruising like a black eye. Times when the person might feel bruised, like for example, sometimes people get jet lag, they come off the plane and they feel bruised and beat up. Sometimes people get the flu. It's like one type of flu. If people have that particular feeling, Arnica is going to work great for the flu. But in general, it's a great thing to have if you have a toddler who's always falling down and bumping their head, you have a kid with a skateboard, or you have a kid playing football, soccer, heading the ball in soccer. Anytime there's like a blow to the head, right away you want to do Arnica. And then, of course, you want to think about, do you also need to call 911 if the child is seriously injured?
Sure.
But very first thing, if you could do Arnica when there's any kind of sports injury, bump, bruise, head injury, something like that. So it's such a good emergency thing to have on hand.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And what does it do?
Well, it takes down the bruising and the swelling. What will happen is that when blood vessels break, there's a little bit of like fluid loss under the skin that can cause swelling. And the bruising, of course, is from blood vessel loss under the skin. Mm-hmm. It causes it to resorb and to pull it back in. Mm-hmm. And then it can also help to heal torn muscles, sore muscles.
Okay,
yeah.
So if someone bruises easily, should they be taking Arnica on a regular basis?
Well, that's a good question, because there's a better thing to do in that case. In that case, you want to say, well, why does this person bruise more easily than someone else? It's because their blood vessels are more frail or fragile somehow. So in that case, what you want to do is strengthen the walls of the blood vessels, and there are a few things you can do for that. There's a substance called rutin, and that's part of the C complex. It comes with the bioflavonoids. That helps to strengthen the blood vessels. It's found in certain foods like kasha or buckwheat. Peppers also have it, and that white stuff on the inside of the orange peel. I actually had a friend, I recommended this to a friend whose father would get little broken blood vessels in his eye, and she kept taking that white inside of the orange peel for him, and it helped to stop that. So that's one thing. Rutin is one thing. Another thing is called calc fluor. It's a cell salt, which is it's a mineral that's prepared with a little bit of a homeopathic energized quality to it. So it's easier to absorb. And calc fluor strengthens any tissue in the body that has some elasticity to it. So that includes the walls of the blood vessels, and it also includes tendons and ligaments. So that's another sports injury remedy for people who they might dislocate their knee easily or sprain easily, or in some way they feel like their connective tissue just isn't strong enough, or they're healing from a sprain or a strain.
Now, what else would you put in someone's medicine cabinet?
Well, as long as we're talking about injuries, the number two thing would be calendula. And that's available as an herbal remedy where you have the actual little leaves and flowers. You make an herbal extract with alcohol. You can take that and mix it into a lotion or a cream. Like there's a wonderful calendula baby cream that's great for diaper rash. You can take that same substance and prepare it homeopathically that involves a whole process that energizes it, makes it more powerful. When you use the homeopathic remedy calendula, It will heal anytime the skin is broken. So it could be a cut or a scrape. It could be an abrasion, like a child falls off her bike, she skins her knee. It could be a surgical incision or an episiotomy, something like that. So anytime the skin is broken, calendula is going to pull the sides of the wound together. It's going to prevent infection. It's going to prevent scarring. It's going to make it heal much more quickly. And we actually have many, many experiences with people using these two remedies right before surgery and then as much as necessary after surgery, where they heal very fast. They don't tend to need pain medication after surgery or after dental extraction. It's also, calendula is used for burns, for example. Now again, you can apply it topically, and calendula cream is a wonderful thing to apply. But sometimes the person is, let's say they're burned all over, or let's say they've fallen down, they're scraped in many places. A homeopathic remedy will heal from the inside out. It doesn't have to be applied. Or maybe the skin is so tender that you can't really put something on it. So then you take the calendula as a homeopathic remedy, and it comes in little tiny pellets, or like little sugar pellets. And as you swallow it, it's going to make the body heal any kind of skin injury much more quickly. Okay. So those are really those are the injury pair.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, for people that really don't know what homeopathy is, could you give us a basic,
a quickie version of what it is? Sure.
Yeah.
It's a form of natural medicine. It's part of the national healthcare system in many countries around the world. So it's an accepted form of conventional medicine. And interestingly, in our country, the FDA considers it a medicine. It's just not very well known. Unlike, say, a vitamin or an herb, it's considered a medicine. It comes in the form of a little tiny pellet. And the starting substance, if you look at the name of the remedy, it's going to be usually the name of an herb. It might be the name of a mineral, like sulfur or mercury or phosphorus. Or there are many different substances that can be prepared this way. And basically, there's a whole process that kind of both energizes the substance, it dilutes it so that it's very safe. There are no easily measurable amounts of the starting substance left. So you can take a very toxic substance that can be used in healing. In the beginning, there were toxic substances like mercury and arsenic. Those were the medicines of 200 years ago. And the person who discovered this process was a doctor who he didn't want to treat his own children with the medicines he knew. He knew how toxic they were. He kept diluting them, but at the same time he was shaking them in a way that adds energy to the system. And as it dilutes it, it becomes safer, completely safe for kids. It enhances the medicinal action, and the information is being stored. It's basically the water that you're using becomes coherent or structured water. And this is a big topic these days. People can get certain kinds of water filters or certain kinds of spring or mineral water where the water is coherent or structured. It's absorbed better by the body. And in the remedies, the information from the starting substance is stored in the structure. Think about snowflakes. They're all made of water, simple little H2O water molecules, but the water forms a pattern. And they say about snowflakes, no two alike. I don't know who actually compared snowflakes to figure that out, but many, many possible patterns. In the same way, a homeopathic remedy is basically, it's an information storage device. It's taken the healing information from the starting substance. It's imparting it to the water in your body, and our bodies are more than 50% water. They're about 60% water or so. It imparts it to the water in your body. It conveys information. We don't really know what happens once it's in your body, but there's a lot of work being done right now in physics. It's called ultra-high dilution physics, to understand how this starting substance, which could be toxic, could have the information taken, stored in the homeopathic pellet, and transmitted to your body in a way that's completely safe, even for little kids.
Amazing.
It actually is amazing, yeah.
Now, I know that there are homeopathic sprays as well.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the two?
You mean like to spray it in your mouth? It's actually a very good delivery system because the little pellets work when they touch the mucous membranes. And when you spray it, it actually touches a lot of the mucous membranes in your mouth. So it's a very good way to take it.
Okay.
You can also, it's a less expensive thing to do, is to take your little pellets that you get in the health food store, dissolve a couple of them in about a half a cup of water, and then one sip becomes a dose, and you can just swish it like mouthwash. It touches a lot of the mucous membranes. It makes it stronger. So it's also a very effective way to deliver the homeopathic remedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And homeopathic remedies can be made specifically for individuals. Am I correct on that?
Well, they can be chosen for the individual, and that's what would happen if you go to a professional homeopath. And that's usually what you do when you have a chronic illness, something you've had for a long time. A professional homeopath will want to know what was going on when that started, like what was the stress that you were experiencing that made your body express itself in certain symptoms that could be chronic headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, many different ways that our bodies express the stress. So the homeopath would take information about what was the stressor, how is the body expressing it, and about you as a person. All kinds of things about your temperament, your background, your likes and dislikes, things to individualize it. So again, this is for a chronic illness. And the professional homeopath, it's like taking the measurements for a custom set of clothing that's unique for you. But mostly what I'd like to share with your viewers is totally practical stuff they can get in any health food store or can easily get online that are, it's pretty universal, like anyone with a bump or a bruise, Arnica is going to help. Anyone with a cut, Calendula will help. This part of homeopathy is so simple, and I'd like to see it in every medicine cabinet in America. And can I tell you why?
Yes.
In my practice in Cambridge, Mass, we get people from all over the world. They come to Harvard to study or MIT to study. And when they bring their families, if it's from a part of the world where homeopathy is popular, the mom will bring the kids in to see me because they would rather have a relationship with the local homeopath than with the pediatrician.
Yeah.
So they bring this child in. Most of the kids in my practice, I have to say, American kids, unless the moms are really health-oriented, most of the kids, they have dark circles under their eyes. They're kind of wan and peaked looking, and they have they sniffle all the time, and they're irritable. They're kind of whiny or cranky or irritable. I think because of their brains are irritated from all the toxins in the diet and so forth. But I see these kids from overseas, and they're calm, and they're very mature emotionally, and they have these bright, sparkly eyes and these rosy cheeks, and mom will say, my child is the only one in the class who's never been on antibiotics and never gets sick. And then she'll say, it's because I have a remedy kit at home and I give him homeopathy whenever he starts to get sick. I think, why can't American moms do this? I think Americans are dying to know more about natural healing. Homeopathy is pretty unknown. It doesn't have a big PR department. It doesn't have ads on TV. No, it doesn't. And it deserves to be better known, especially for kids, because kids love it. The little pellets are sweet. They're on a basis of sugar. So kids, in my practice, I have 4-year-olds who will ask by name for remedies with names like Lycopodium, and they know their remedies. They know which one they need. They know which one to ask for. So very easy to do with kids and very safe. They're completely non-toxic. So for example, if a child were to get into the medicine cabinet and swallow a whole tube, nothing, it'd be fine. So
Really?
Unlike conventional medicines, yeah.
Fantastic.
So I see just so much potential here for people to help their families with homeopathy.
So can you tell me some other ways that families might use homeopathy?
Sure. Actually, here are my next 2 favorite things, and I'm going to introduce a concept, which I made up. It's called emotional first aid. Emotional first aid means somebody, for example, they get that upsetting phone call. The phone call every mother dreads. Is it the teenage kid who wrapped himself around a telephone pole because he was drunk? Is it the elderly parent who fell? Is it her husband's cheating on her with her best friend, or whatever, or getting diagnosed with cancer? There are all these things that can provide this immediate upset. It can be frightening. The person may experience grief, abandonment, betrayal, shock, humiliation. But this is a blow. It's an injury, and people get sick from it. And we see this as professional homeopaths. For example, someone might come in with breast cancer, and I might say, what was going on for you when this started? People know. And in fact, they may say, well, I know, but my doctor wasn't interested, because they don't have a way to treat it. But a lot of times an emotional blow that wasn't really resolved can turn into chronic illness. Okay, so my favorite things. The first one is the remedy Ignatia. It's not the same as the herb Echinacea. It's called Ignatia. Ignatia is for stormy emotions. The person is sobbing hysterically, or they're totally, they have fear or abandonment or betrayal, any one of these strong feelings. It can be a child who's just been humiliated in front of the class, or a kid that got yelled at by the soccer coach. Some kids are more sensitive than others. Some kids just blow it off. But especially, I'll tell you what this remedy is perfect for, teenage girls. When they go through these mood swings, you know, they're pushing you away, and then they need your help, and they're pushing you away, and then they get an IM from a friend that she doesn't want to speak to them anymore, but whatever. There's all this drama going on with the girls. It can just help to, when somebody is feeling strong emotions, it strengthens the core of their being so they can process the emotion. Like if somebody's in grief, let's say someone just died, you don't want to numb the person so they don't feel grief. But then again, there's so much that has to be done when someone passes away.
Right.
And you have to pull yourself together and kind of soldier on to some extent. And what some people do is they just suppress the grief. They pretend like, I'm fine, but actually they're not. And then they may have insomnia or other long-term, long-term symptoms. Ignatia helps the person experience the grief or other emotion, but take one step back so they can function, they can cope, they can do what needs to be done. And they can get in touch with that part of themselves, like all of us have this deep, eternal core of truth inside ourselves. Inside our hearts, we know there's part of us that just always existed and will always exist and will pull through this. So it helps us to tap into that core of inner strength. So Ignatia, I'd say the number 3 thing for every home medicine cabinet. And then there's kind of a related concept, rescue remedy. It's actually a blend of flower essences. It's more universal than a homeopathic remedy. The nice thing about rescue remedy, it can be used for anybody under any circumstance. It can be a physical injury, falling off a bike. The kid can be physically injured, but they can also be frightened, or they can be embarrassed if it's in front of their friends. So you could have physical and emotional kind of upset at the same time, and rescue remedy is great for that. So I would say a benefit of rescue remedy, it's milder than Ignatia. But homeopathic remedies, to some extent, work better if they match. And with Ignatia, it has to be very strong symptoms. And Ignatia, I mean, rescue remedy doesn't matter, any blow or injury. I'll give you an example of what I mean by the remedy needs to match the symptom set. We have another great concept in homeopathy. I just talked about emotional first aid and when you might need it. We have a diagnosis, and we call it hearing bad news. And that's what happens when people get this upsetting phone call or diagnosis or whatever. Hearing bad news can be the beginning of chronic illness. People react in different ways. Someone who needs Ignatia gets hyper emotional. They're sobbing, they're hysterical. There's another remedy, gelsemium. When people need gelsemium, it's like they go into shock. It's like deer in the headlights. They become totally numb. And it can be used for people who this upsetting thing happens, and it's like all the energy just drains right out of them. And it will help, it actually will give them energy. The funny thing is, in homeopathy, we match symptoms rather than a diagnosis. We just had one diagnosis, hearing bad news, 2 possible remedies. We have a remedy, gelsemium, many possible uses. Think of that feeling. We call it dizzy, dopey, drowsy, droopy, dull. That's the gelsemium feeling. Well, when you get the flu, a lot of people, when they get the flu, they feel like a truck ran over them. They feel like they can't get out of bed. In fact, you can tell when someone needs gelsemium, their eyelids are kind of half masked. They don't even have the energy to open their eyes. So that could be in different situations. It could be a flu. It could be a cold. It could be they're very upset about something. There are other things. Viral illnesses in general, people tend to get very, very tired when their body's trying to fight off a virus. So there are many different possible viral illnesses where the first thing you might do is gelsemium, if they're reacting in this way.
Now, in terms of just beginning, if someone is listening to this and says, where do I get these remedies?
Where do we start?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they're hiding in your local health food store. I call them the best kept secrets of the health food store. They're probably going to look like this. The technical term for this is blue tube. That's what we call it, the blue tube. And they have these, every health food store in America just about will have these, and many pharmacies. Interestingly, pharmacies are starting to sell them too, because there's so much interest in natural healing. I'm going to show you one other secret while we're here. It's hard to get the little pellets out. So what you're going to do, you're going to hold it like this with a clear plastic cap on the bottom. You're going to hold this steady and then twist the top, and then they pop out, and then you can take the cap off, and you can put the pellets in your mouth without touching them with your hands. Now, there's a widespread belief that you can't touch the pellets with your hands. Actually, I found it's fine. I do it all the time. But you wouldn't want to pour a bunch into your hands and then put them back in, because a little bit of oil or fragrance or something might actually affect the pellets in the tube. So this is a common brand. If there's one other brand, they're going to be in little white squarish bottles like this. These are made on little soft tablets. And I actually like this brand a little bit better because I often have people put the remedy in water. 2 pellets or 2 tablets in a little water, stir it up. These will dissolve very quickly. And the benefit of that is it'll make it stronger. The person gets more benefit because it touches more of the mucous membranes in the mouth. And so it works very quickly. If there's an emergency or very strong symptoms of really high fever or the person is bleeding or something, of course, if it seems dangerous, you'll call 911. But what do you do while you're waiting? You can whip a few pellets into them.
Right.
Yeah.
And do they need to hold that liquid in their mouths first?
It helps to swish it a little bit, before swallowing it,
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so how do they start? Local health food store. These are also available online. So if people note the name of the remedy when we're talking about it, honestly, they can go to Amazon and they can get these things. Now, they come in different strengths. I'm going to strongly recommend that people get 30, which is a medium average strength. It comes much stronger than that. And on Amazon, they sell very high potencies, which honestly, I think that they shouldn't. Because if a remedy is perfect, it's like hitting the nail right on the head. It's your perfect remedy and it's way too strong. It can temporarily make the symptoms worse. This will go away. It's actually part of the healing process. But it's like, why do that? Like, why knock somebody over the head with a very strong remedy? So 30 is really the best. So, and they'll have that. Health food stores and online. You know, the Vitacost type of places, the discount vitamin places will have it. And then for good information about it, I would have them join the National Center for Homeopathy is fabulous. They can go to homeopathic.org, and there's a whole archive of many, many useful articles. Like, let's say, we haven't had time to talk about ear infections here, but there'll be articles about how to treat ear infections in kids with maybe half a dozen common remedies. What's the one you use when it's on the right side and the cheek is bright red? What's the one you use when it's on the left side? Or, you know, you have to kind of differentiate a little bit more than we have time for here. So National Center for Homeopathy, great resource. And then I wrote this, honestly, to share what I know with the public. I wrote it because many of the so-called beginner books in homeopathy, they're really too complicated. And this is like the simplest stuff, the best stuff, the easiest way to get started. And it really explains to people how to use the remedies, how to get the most benefit out of them, why they might think the remedies aren't working and what to do about that. Usually, I'll tell you, the main reason that they don't work, people only give one dose. And I say, well, with antibiotics, would you only give one dose and say it didn't work? No, you have to keep doing it until the person gets better. So, it explains things like that.
So you're actually taking the remedy until you feel a change.
Yes, until you feel a shift. And typically 4 times a day if the person is for a normal cold or flu or something like that. If the symptoms are mild or the person's really on the mend, then twice a day is good. But basically, you're trying to take it enough that sometimes you can just see the person starting to get better. You just like their energy's coming back. The kid whose appetite comes back, they're on the mend, when they get hungry, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Or they stop sneezing or their nose stops running or something. Ideally, if it's for you, you'll feel it inside yourself. If it's your kid, you have to observe a little bit. Kid gets up and starts running around again instead of drooping on the couch, there are signs that the child's starting to get better. Once the doses of the remedy start to work, there's some momentum that's built up from those doses, and it will continue to work. And sometimes that's enough for the person to get totally better. Sometimes it takes you part of the way there, and then you start to sneeze again, your nose starts to run or whatever. That's the time to start the remedy again. Yeah.
Do you ever take just maintenance doses of something?
Not usually, because homeopathy is really, it works best when you have a symptom and you can match that particular symptom.
Okay.
Well, when I think about maintenance doses, I think about healthy eating and that's when herbs and vitamins and healthy foods and essential fatty acids, that's what you do for maintenance. And actually, homeopathy isn't a miracle. It's not magic. It's not going to work that well for somebody who's really run down. They're eating a lot of junk food. They don't exercise. They don't spend time in nature. They spend all their time immersed in electromagnetic fields, with their electronics. Then we talk about the healing energy, we call it the vital force. If somebody doesn't have a strong vital force, there's not a lot for the remedy to work with. So actually in my book, the whole first section is, we need a strong foundation. We need to make green smoothies. We need to eat more green vegetables. We need our essential fatty acids. We need to spend time in nature, things like that. Deep breathing, visualizations, there are many things we can do to strengthen our healing energy. Yeah.
Just in terms of our children,
there's one remedy. Okay, I'm going to tell you. What's the one remedy every parent of a small child should have on hand? It's called pulsatilla, and I'm going to describe to you a child who needs pulsatilla. And if you recognize this child, or if your viewers recognize this child, it's going to help the child with infectious illnesses or tummy aches or headaches, anything. if they have this symptom profile, this personality profile. Okay, so here's a pulsatilla kid. Mommy, I don't want to go to school today. I want to stay home with you because my tummy hurts. This is a child who loves to be with mom. You try to drop them off at daycare. They grab you like a little Velcro straps around your leg. Foul, bloody murder when you try to leave the room. You know, very attached to mom. Most of the time, sweet, sweet, sweet. A little manipulative, maybe. They know how to get what they want. Right. They might cry at the drop of a hat, but they're easily distracted, and you get them back to having this sunny personality. So they can be a little bit whiny, a little bit manipulative, mostly sweet, affectionate. They're the kids who'll say, Mommy, I want to sit on your lap. Mommy, I love you. Mommy, kiss me. You know, that kind of sweet, affectionate kid. You love these kids.
Yeah.
Right. So why would a kid like this tend to get sick? Well, they tend to get sick because you want to abandon them to the daycare center or abandon them to first grade or something. They tend to, they want to stay as little kids. They're really susceptible to sibling rivalry, and when there's a new baby in the family and the new baby's getting all the attention, this kid, they may act out, they may like whack the baby when you're not around, or the other thing they may do is they may notice the baby's getting all the attention. Maybe I can get attention too. They might start sucking their thumb again. They might ask for a bottle again. They might want to sleep in mommy and daddy's bed again. This is a big theme for pulsatilla kids. And this remedy helps if these kids get even a little fever, ear infection, cold, flu. It would really be the first thing to try. And anytime you think that there's something a little psychosomatic going on, the way homeopathy works with kids, first of all, you know it's not placebo, and it really convinces the skeptical spouse. So you have the mom who's into homeopathy, who goes to the health food store and gets teething tablets, another great thing to have on hand when kids are that age with babies. So she gets the teething tablets, the kid's howling with teething pain, put a tablet in the kid's mouth. The kid takes a big breath and just falls asleep like that, no more pain. And the dads are like, what just happened? Did you just drug my child? What just happened?
Well, I'm sorry, but we're out of time.
Yeah.
And this has just been wonderful. So many fantastic remedies that are simple and easy to use.
Any health food store. $7.95 a tube.
Yeah, you can't beat the cost.
Can't go wrong.
Well, thank you. I hope you'll join us again.
Sure, thanks.
For more information on Burke Lennihan, you can visit her website at yournaturalmedicinecabinet.com. For more information on the Marian Institute, you can visit them on the web at marianinstitute.org. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Sheryl Worthington-Turgeon. See you next time on Living Healthy.